So my name is Uchenna Abali. I'm 35 years old. Um, I was born in Bauchi State here in Nigeria, and originally from Uturu, Abia State. I attended primary school in Abia State, secondary school in the staff school in Yola in Adamawa State, and I attended university in Abia State University. My family is a family of four. There's two boys and two girls. I'm the oldest of four. I live in the US. My sister, she lives in Canada. My two youngest siblings, one of them, they both live in Nigeria. One of them just graduated from optometry, Abia State University. And I'm the oldest of four of the children. So my interest in flying came from a really young age. My dad wanted to be a pilot, but he didn't really have the resources or any of the means to make that dream come true. And so he would always tell us stories about flying, point out airplanes to us, and that's where I got the interest in flying. Just like my dad, I also didn't come from a wealthy family. I came from a really poor family, and we could not afford to pay for flight training myself. And so I ended up going to school. I was focused in sciences, mathematics, chemistry, physics. When I graduated secondary school, I ended up applying to the university to study medicine. I didn't get into the medical school in Abia State University, but I got the opportunity to study biochemistry. So I studied that for 4 years, graduated from university, and served during my youth service. It was during my youth service that I met a mentor, someone who asked me questions about myself and what I really wanted to do with my life. And when I told him that I had always wanted to be a pilot but didn't think it was a dream I could pursue, he encouraged me. He said, well, why don't you just ask questions? Why don't you go visit, flight schools, call them, find out what it takes to become a pilot? And that's how my journey to becoming a pilot started. I went to the flight school in Zaria. I called them to see, what it would take to train as a pilot there. I called all the schools. At the time, the only school that existed was the school in Zaria. And so when I realized that it was not possible for me to be a pilot there, or to be enrolled there, or to gain admission there, I started looking at schools outside of the United States. I started looking at South Africa, the US, and so many other countries. And I started getting information. I found a school that accepted me for their flight training program in the US. And then I started looking for finances, and eventually I went to flight school, and that's how my journey to become a pilot. It's something that I always wanted to be. It was a dream of mine. However, it was a dream that I didn't think was possible. I had no right to be a pilot. I don't think I was the smartest person. I didn't have the money for it, but it was a dream that I chose to pursue, and thankfully today that dream is a reality. Like I mentioned earlier, my family did not have the money to pay for flight school for me, and so that was the very first challenge I encountered. How do I pay for flight school? And not just how do I pay for flight school, how do I pay for flight school in the United States? And so, like I said, I worked for the person I met, Mr. Victor Falana. He worked for Passenger Farms at the time. He employed me. He made me a manager of one of his branches, and he said, well, why don't you save up from your salary? I will match whatever you have. He sponsored the first part of my training, I think, with about $10,000, and he encouraged me to go out and look for scholarships. So I wrote applications for scholarships. I wasn't looking for advertised scholarships. I went to the Abia State government, which is my home state of origin, and I applied for a scholarship. I was approved for a $10,000 scholarship. At the same time, I got a scholarship from an oil company, Masters Energy, which is Masters Energy and Gas. I got a $20,000 scholarship from them, and I got another $10,000 scholarship from Gregory University in Uturu. So it's like these three companies, they came together, they sponsored, and this was over a period of a year and a half, in spite of, that's how it all came about. And I wrote letters to them, and that's how I was able to pay for my flight training eventually. Armed with all of those resources, I was able to go over to the United States, enroll in a flight school, and complete my flight training. Well, I would say life in the US, I like it. It's a very organized society. There's a big difference between my life in the US today as an employed pilot and my life in the US in the past as as a student who didn't have the resources. I lived in Florida when I first moved, but for the first 6 months, I never even went to the beach, even though it was 5 minutes from my house, because I had so much to do. I had to focus on my studies. I didn't have the money to go play around. And I mean, if you're a student or you're someone who's going through, challenging times because of your education or a dream you're pursuing, it's in a few years or in a few months, when you pursue that dream and you catch it, you get to enjoy better. So right now, my life in the US is, I moved back to Florida. I live close to the beach. I go out, and enjoy hanging out with my friends on the boat, jet skis. It's enjoyable. When I'm not working, I enjoy being on the water. I enjoy, volunteering, talking to young people about aviation, encouraging them, telling my story, to encourage them to say, hey, look, I'm just like you. My mom used to have a stall in the market where she sold clothes. I used to sell pure water on my head. I used to sell, yogurt. And I've gone from that to being, the captain at an airline. And it's possible for them. And that's what I do. I try to go share my story with people so they know that it's possible for them, to pursue their dream, no matter how big, no matter how lofty that dream is. So these are some of the things I enjoy doing on my days off when I'm not flying. Well, if I wasn't a pilot, what would I have become? I feel like being a pilot almost identifies, it's kind of my identity. But if I was not a pilot, I probably would be a businessman. I probably would, because over the years, I've realized that one of the things I value more than anything is control of my time. And so if you're an entrepreneur and you own a business, obviously it takes a lot of work to set up a business to a point where it doesn't need you. But that's what I would do. I would probably run a business, working on an MBA right now. So running a business is, would be my goal, because ultimately in life, I think when you get to a point where you have control over your time and you get to spend your time with the people that matter to you, with your family and your friends, it's a more important goal than chasing resources or chasing money. And so I will chase either a business or a venture or something that would allow me control over my time much more than chasing after finances. I will say, if I have one word of advice for anyone, I would say is to find something you want to do, to find a dream. A lot of people I talk to will tell me, hey, I don't have the money to pursue this. I don't have the money to dream of being a senator. I don't have the money to dream of being a pilot. I don't have the money to pursue that dream. But the lessons I've learned in life points that when you have a dream and you pursue it, usually all the help and all the resources and whatever it is you need to achieve that dream will come to you. And so I say, first of all, identify something you're passionate about, something you want to do, something that you're willing to sacrifice everything for, and pursue it. And when you do that, everything else you need will come to you. And again, I say this as someone who never had connections. I'm not from a wealthy family. I'm not connected to anyone in power. But when you pursue your dream with singleness of purpose, usually everything you need to make that dream come true will come to you.